Hey everybody, this is Mario Ronci, brand strategist and founder of ManuFracture. Today with another episode of Ambitions of an Agency, and this time this video comes from an Instagram story post that I did just out of the blue randomly about different phases of a creative or different phases of a designer basically. And there was one guy named Chris, and he texted me saying, "Listen, Mario, this is really good. You should make a full video of this on YouTube." And I'm like, "Yeah, that makes complete sense. I'll make an even more in-depth video than what I did on my Instagram story, because that was just like, what, 60 seconds, 30 seconds? There's not much shit you can go into depth in there." So, and this is just another good point, is that with your audience, you can grab content ideas from. You don't always need to brainstorm, create, post something out, see what your audience thinks about it, and then come back, say, hey, okay, I probably can do something like this. So thanks, Chris, for the idea. That's all yours, buddy. It's all yours. If you're watching, of course, right? So yeah, let's get into it basically. So phases of a creative, basically. So different phases of creative. So when you're a graphic designer or a designer in general, and I guess this is mainly concerned to designers, but maybe you can apply this within yourself as well, who knows, right? But let's just say, so it's a beginner. So you have three phases. You have beginner, you have intermediate, you have professional, and then you have mastery or master, right? So those are at least the four phases. And the mastery one is I added that onto the one, because in the Instagram video I didn't add that one, but that's also another phase, mastery. So let's begin with the first one, the beginning phase. In the beginning phase, you're just having a grand old time. You don't give a damn about the rules. You're just experimenting all over the place, right? You got your first copy of Illustrator, you got your first copy of Photoshop. You're thinking just about just going at it, just exploring all the brushes, exploring all the effects, exploring all this stuff, and just having fun with it, really. Having fun with it. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, but this is a good start. I would say this is a good start for a beginner to actually, start having fun. Understand that there's, a playfulness to design, but that does not mean, this is the downside of that, beginner's work will not be good because of that. Because the beginner will only know how to break the rules. And I'm not saying that there are rare opportunities that, somebody who's just beginning design is really good at it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the chances of that realistically, meaning, if you're going to make a good design, chances realistically, if you're beginning and you're just doing a bunch of experimentation and you're just doing all this stuff, experimenting with all these brushes, you're not really getting the principles of design, which leads us to the next phase, right? And the next phase is intermediate. You've kind of already exhausted, your need to, experiment with all the brushes, experiment with all the tools and whatnot, and you feel now like, there's something missing. My work isn't up to par. What is that, right? And so that thing is when you realize that there are rules to design. There are rules to design, and that when you follow those rules, you get a good design outcome, right? You get something beautiful, you get something effective, you get something that communicates, right? When you follow those rules, you get something effective, communicates, functional. This is where the part of design comes in, where it's all about functionality. You understand, oh, I have to have this for the target audience. I have to have this style because this particular style is about this. Oh, because, and then, you start to understand that there are rationales behind what you need to do, right? So that's the intermediate phase. And the trap of the intermediate is that you can actually be so enthralled with the rules, so obsessed with trying to make things so perfect, so principled, on the dot with the rules, that you might never experiment again. You might never be playful again. You might never actually find something new again, because you're only learning and you're only working within that structure, which isn't bad, but over time your work will get stale because of it, right? Your work will get stale. And that's a trap I've fallen into for sure. So the third step is the professional. And the professional understands that there is a marriage between the experimentation, the playfulness, and the functionality and the principles and the rules. So this is when the whole thing about, oh, you need to know the rules before you break them. Exactly. This is the phase you do it, right? You understand that there are rules. You understand that there's playfulness and experimentation. When you marry the two together, when you marry, oh, you know, I'll try this style. It's different, but it does fit the target audience. I'll try it out instead of going for something, I'll just do a plain color and that's it because it's functional. No, you're changing the things. Oh, I'll use photography. Why? Because I have a rationale, I have a function to it, right? So you're connecting the playfulness now to the professionalism, right? So that's the key, right? And so the fourth phase, which I added in right now, and it's the one that was kind of inspired by Chris's question, is like, you know, listen, Mario, I've been thinking about this, and the stages are all great, but you know, I'm in this last phase of, you know, what's the meaning of design, right? And I believe that's where the mastery phase comes in. And the mastery phase is where you're not really caring about either, it's more like the functionality and the playfulness already come to you naturally. You're not really kind of trying to focus on making sure that this is that and this is that. You have to experiment, of course, and you have to push yourself, but you're not really, it's more of a, you're not as completely, you know, obsessed over every single detail. You're kind of just flowing, you know, and it has an ease to it. It has a sort of an ease to it. Not saying the professionals also don't have ease to it. I'm just saying in mastery, it's a completely different thing. Now, you might get this confused because mastery, which I'm gonna have to do a disclaimer, is that mastery isn't technically a phase anymore, right? It's a kind of a paradox. You have to go through the phases to realize there's no phase at all. You basically go full circle. You go back to the beginning, basically. You understand what made this all beautiful in the first place, right? You understand that this is what it's all about. This is the process. That everything that you've led up to, that there is absolutely no destination to get, no absolute project or perfect design or whatever, you know, that is the most perfect design possible. You'll get close to it, but you'll never get that perfect design. And what you'll realize is that the process matters the most. The process matters the most. And when you understand that the process matters the most, you fall in love with it. You fall in love with the process. This is where the meaning of design comes from, right? You want to solve problems anymore? Yeah, you can solve problems. That's the functionality part. But there's more meanings to design. You can create really engaging experiences, make people laugh, make people cry, make people feel something, right? And people would say, oh, that's more art, Mario. Well, no, not necessarily. Design also needs to, you know, I think functionality and, you know, good experiences and feeling good emotions also is a good thing. So that's where user experience design comes in, and experience design comes in, and the meaning of it, and then understanding how the whole design process can take you further than just visuals. Which, okay, visuals are great, but you know, they can take you further. They could take you to understand how to design businesses. They could tell you how to design business models. You can make your own business out of design methodologies. You know, you start to apply the process to different things that you didn't know you possibly could do. Oh, I'm gonna make an experiential, experiential thing in the mall. I don't know how to do that, but you know, I'll figure it out because the process will show me how to do it. And then, if you don't know how to do that yourself, you can just delegate that to somebody else. You can delegate that to an architect and show them their designs, and you can work together on that sort of thing. And that's where the meaning of design comes from, because design at its core, at the essence, the truth of design is solving problems in a creative way to make the human lives better, you know? Whatever way it is, you know? Oh, is it ease of opening the can? Oh, or is it an ease of buying something? Whatever it is. But you start to see design has so much purpose in the world we live in that, even the visual parts of it, you know, start to make even more sense, right? Semiotics, you know, oh, the science of how people interpret signs, interpret markings. You know, you start getting more in depth into what design really means, and you fall in love with the process, and you continue on your process, and you're never done. You're never done. You just figure out that the flow state, the process state, is the pinnacle of design euphoria, is the pinnacle of it. When you realize that, work will flow easily to you. You will not need to think as much. You will just, you know, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'll do that. Oh, you know, you will still have creative blocks from time to time, but it will be much easier. You're not gonna get attached to the creative block, right? A lot of creatives get attached to the creative block. They get attached to it. Ah, I'm blocked. No, the master sees this is part of the process. The block is part of the process. When the block is cleared, everything shall show, right? So you start to see things not as the enemy. You see challenges as things that, you know, are part of the process, rather than things that are getting in your way, so to say, right? Or you need to work around it, right? You know? So that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of design. And I'd say I'm between perhaps professional and intermediate. Perhaps I'd say I don't really call myself a master yet. Definitely not. I'm only not yet. But one day for sure. So that's it. That's it for this video for today. I hope you liked it. Hope you got some value out of it. And yeah, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see more content like this, if you want to see more ambitions of an agency, subscribe, like, comment, interact with me in the comment section, and I'll answer all your questions. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.